Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Liberty Libations. I'm Zach Varnell, and I'm joined as always by Zane Placie, Alden Hardee, and Nick Ciesielski. So, what are you drinking, Zane?
I've got a Leinenkugel Summer Shandy.
Nice. What about you, Alden?
I got the famous combination of a Sapporo and a Cotter, because why not?
And a what?
Cape Cotter vodka brand.
Oh, okay, cool. Never heard it that way. Maybe do people order that like at the bar? You know, I guess you've been a bartender, probably.
Yeah, maybe I'm just an asshole. So
well,
yeah.
Well, we already knew that.
Yeah. But maybe these things are connected. Yeah.
I had a friend that lived in Japan, and he was like big into punk music in Japan, and apparently bands there would be sponsored by Sapporo, or
really?
Maybe not Sapporo, but Asahi. That's the one.
Oh,
Bands would be on stage and just be like Asahi, super dry.
Well, and all the Japanese baseball teams are like named after the companies that sponsor them.
Yeah, that's funny.
Go Xeroxes.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are you drinking, Nick?
To start, I've got the a Dark Side of the Pint oatmeal stout from my variety pack from the Latrobe Brewing Company, and then from Bucks County Brewing or whatever it's called, I have this. I don't know what it is. I can't remember what it is, but I have it, so I'm gonna drink it.
There you go.
Do they have like some assassination themed beer?
Have you ever seen those Cerveza Cristal Star Wars commercials that in like Chile or Argentina or something they like insert into the movie?
I saw like the clips of that at one point online. Yeah. It's just like, you've got it was like the Star Wars one. You've got Obi-Wan kind of climbing around the thing on the Death Star and reaches up and grabs.
Yeah, like reaches in to be like, your father wanted you to have this, and like instead of the lightsaber, he pulls out like Cerveza Cristal. Like I don't know, dude, that's got me, man. They're so funny.
So it's not even just like product placement, but like product insertion.
They will cut an ad into
that's built to look like it was filmed on set, kind of thing. It's like spliced in to make it look like a seamless thing. I don't know. It's actually really brilliant. Apparently, the beer sucks.
That's funny. Well, all right. Well, our first story today is about this whole Massie versus Trump thing that's going on. So, and Jake has us starting here with this clip from Dan Bongino, where I guess in this one, Bongino's coming down against Massie. So let's watch this, and then, I want to hear what Zane especially has to say about it. Am I sharing screen? I am. Here goes.
Did not. But he's definitely wrong on this one. And that's why I don't agree. And I've defended Congressman Massie in the past. Just go back and watch the shows. I don't get emotional about these things. He has been amazing on the January 6th pipe bomber case. Incredible. He is wrong here. I'm sorry. He's wrong. He doesn't have a tactical plan to cut spending. I just gave it to you. Get rid of this CR. Deal with it for 3 more months, move on to reconciliation, and fight the fight there where you actually have the numbers. Does that make sense? Anybody disagree? If you think that I'm a toolbox and a jerk right now, and you're like, that's just crazy, tell me in the chat. I'm open. All I'm asking you is if you believe that, tell me what your plan is. Tell me what your plan is to get over the Senate filibuster. If you have it, I'd love to hear it.
All right. So does anybody here think he's being a toolbox and a jerk and respond to that?
Yeah. So remember when Republicans wanted to cut spending?
Yeah, but now government's good, so you got to fund it.
So I'm not super familiar with all the procedural BS that he's talking about. Maybe he has a point. I don't really even care, because regardless of what Dan Bongino's proposed plan is, I already know that their congressional Republicans are probably not going to do whatever that plan is anyway. So you may as well stand up to it right now. There is no time like the present. So if you say, we'll deal with it in 3 months, then in 3 months we'll say, we'll deal with it in 3 months, and then you'll never deal with it at all.
And then you'll say, we should have dealt with it 6 months ago.
Yeah, but I mean, like, part of the stuff in the continuing resolution is the stuff that everyone's excited about Doge apparently cutting. But now they're voting to keep all that stuff in there because it's a continuing resolution. So it's like, what do you want to do here? You can be angry at him because all he's saying, hey, let's not spend the stuff that we already agreed we shouldn't spend money on. Right? I don't even think he's asking for a whole lot, but he's saying cut something here, right? Because what we always see is they never cut anything, even when they quote unquote cut stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They just slow the already predetermined growth of it, and that's apparently a cut.
They write a 10-year plan to phase it out, and then they never end up doing it. Yeah.
Well, they don't phase it out. They write, they pre-plan how much money goes to whatever each additional year, and then they say that when they're cutting, they'll just say, we're not going to give it that much in whatever year. So
the rate of growth.
Yeah, and they call it a cut, and that's what everyone always freaks out on. So what he's saying is, we have the House and the House and the Senate and the presidency, so we can, start enshrining some of this stuff that everyone just agreed was good that Doge was doing. But, for expediency, and I guess for some reason they're afraid of a government shutdown, which I don't know. We're already in the process of shutting a lot of stuff down, so let's just keep shutting more stuff down. But yeah, it's wild to me to see that reaction of, no, you just got to vote yes on it this time, and then in the future we'll fix it. And it's like, you're, the chances of
Brian's
that slim.
Solution here better. Vote no today, vote no tomorrow, vote no the day after.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is that Massie, he's going to vote no on anything that, anything that's not a cut or anything like this. So it's not like it's a surprise. They should have had that accounted for in the Senate filibuster. There's always the debate to get rid of it. If they were serious and wanted to really go do something, that's going to make things more unstable in the future. And that's always the argument is, don't get rid of the filibuster because it's, that's kind of what keeps the Senate somewhat moderated. But I don't know. At some point, someone's going to get rid of it. So you could have the chance to just get rid of it and go wild and cut a whole bunch of stuff now, or, and then try to figure out what you do. And whenever, I mean, it comes back to the fact that whatever you do is going to affect, is going to come back and get you regardless on this. You're going to cut it. And so when Dems take it, they're going to come back and they're going to try to spend. But
yeah, and that's
they're going to try to spend crazy anyway, so you kind of want to. So in my mind, it's like the best thing you can do is to tear down as much shit as possible, because it's taken how long to build up the bureaucracy to this side. At least decimate it, cut the entire thing by at least a tenth, if not. I'd prefer a lot more than that, but like really, really strike it the hard on it, and then at least it's going to take them that kind of time, right? Because everyone who gets fired is either going to retire or they're going to have to go find a new job. So then are they going to go back to a job where they've learned that, hey, you're actually employed on the whims of politicians and you don't get this gravy train the entire time? So
is everyone that gets fired going to get some 8-month severance package, pay weird thing too? And then it not even be, we won't even see the cut for another year or something. And I don't know.
I'm not sure what the severance is. There was the resign and then we'll pay you until September deal, which I heard some people who were like the probationary employees figured, I'm getting cut on this anyway because I'm the low-hanging fruit on this.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who can be cut, so I'm going to try to take it. And they were actually denied that because they were so new. And so
they knew they weren't going to do well in their meeting with the Bobs.
Yeah. So I don't know if the severance is that or if it's just go get in the unemployment line.
Government programs feel like a fucking three-headed hydra kind of thing, where it's like you'd start cutting off heads and then they just keep growing back the next term or whatever.
Well, did you see? Apparently, a bunch of city and state governments are running these big recruiting campaigns. They're like, "Oh, did you just get fired from the federal government? Come work for us." And, I mean, I guess I'd rather
Pennsylvania's doing that.
I guess I'd rather have people in the state bureaucracy than in the federal federal bureaucracy, because the feds is the absolute worst of the worst. But You're
I'd
not really cutting the overall size of the government.
I'd prefer these
in
people
general.
quit living off a taxpayer dollar and go get a productive job.
Well, I all too would prefer that.
Apparently,
I
Fulton
also-
20 is doing that.
Yeah.
I also have to give Nick props for being the only person I've ever heard to use the word decimate in the way of its actual definition, which is
I took Latin in high school. I know the etymology.
Nice.
Well, tell us dummies what it means.
It means literally to cut by a tenth. That's
Mm.
10. So it means literally cut by a tenth.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Nice.
So
Yeah, it's a word that's a lot less severe than a lot of people say.
Yeah, everyone uses it like
Because
it's
when
Yeah.
more
somebody
like the nine
usually when
tenths,
someone
like,
says decimate, they mean like get rid of almost the entire thing.
yeah,
Like,
you
there's
only
no year
left
of
a tenth.
10%.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Although, too, the federal government, you could do a 1% cut, and they feel like, oh, we've been decimated. There's nothing left.
Yeah, this is.
And on that, like, Dan Bongino there was asking, like, okay, what's your plan, smart guy? Well, tell me if this applies or if I'm off here. But didn't Thomas Massie get some sort of, poison pill for liberty inserted into the rules way back, where if a continuing resolution or a budget doesn't get passed and a certain date or a certain time is passed, then there's budget cuts across the board? Am I wrong about that?
I have no
That
idea.
may have happened, or at least it was maybe proposed. I don't know if it was adopted. I can't remember the specifics, but I do think I remember something on that.
I don't
That
even
was like
know
how
the
they
real-
bought him off one time. Was like, okay, we'll
Yeah.
give you this. But,
Well, and I think that was part of the reason why last time we had this fight, was Mike Johnson was all like, we're going to cut. We're not going to pass this CR without, border security. And then they remove border security and they do it anyway. And it's because they really did not want that across the board cut to go through that I believe did actually get inserted somewhere. He used some shenanigan that they usually use for evil for good this time.
Mhm. Good to know the playbook of evil at least.
Yeah.
yeah,
But let's see his response here. So he said there are two propositions, or these two propositions are not compatible. One, we had to do a CR that extends
Is that
Biden's
a
spending
continuing
level.
resolution? What's a CR?
Yeah.
Okay.
continuing
Continuing-
resolution.
So just kicking the can down the road, basically, is
Yeah.
what that means, I think. Number one, we had to do a CR that extends Biden's spending levels to September because we don't have 60 Republicans in the Senate. And number two, incompatible with the first, we will pass conservative spending bills in September because in September, they still won't have 60 Senate Republicans. So what they're complaining about today and why they're saying they have to do this will still be true 6 months from now. And here's Dave Benner saying 100% right. So,
Well, he is the nemesis of neocons. So,
yep.
and friend of the show.
Yep.
Mhm.
Saw him 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
Cool
How's he
guy.
doing?
Seems to be doing good. Still doing the Liberty thing.
I enjoyed having him on. He's in
Yep.
Tennessee, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we should get him back on at some point.
Mhm.
For sure.
He was
Oh,
cool.
he's a big Bitcoin guy now too, and he
Oh, okay.
credits this show a little bit with that.
Really?
He's like, yeah, you and Nick and Jake like talking about it kind of got me interested, and now his like knowledge level has way surpassed mine. He started talking to me about it, and I'm like, cool. I don't know what you're saying, but
That's always funny when like you introduce someone to something, or in this case, like vaguely or whatever, and then they like go on just a tear with it and then end up surpassing you, and you're like, oh, never mind. Okay,
yeah.
I guess.
I mean, it's
You're
not
king
hard
now,
to
that's
surpass me in knowledge of anything. So
It's certainly not hard to pass me in Bitcoin knowledge because I know just bare bones level enough. So
yeah,
Just know how
Which
to
I think is
buy,
fine.
move to self custody, and hodl.
yeah, I can.
That's all you
hodl.
need to know right now.
Yeah.
I was
mean, I
talking
don't
to
know how-
somebody else about certain things that happen apparently when you try to sell Bitcoin, and I said I don't know about that because it's never sold.
I've literally never sold
Yeah,
any
me
Bitcoin.
either.
That's true.
Like if I'm gonna spend, I'll go on Strike and I'll I'll make the purchase right then and there, and I'll just send it over lightning from Strike. I'll just buy whatever it is, because then you're not dealing with any tax consequences. And anything that
that's
comes from
literally the main reason why I haven't sold anything like stock or crypto wise, is because I don't want to mess with the taxes of it right now. So because my returns would be not enough to really like want to mess with. So
Yeah. But he says, look at all those handsome yet completely average men.
how did you know my dick was average size, buddy?
that.
Oh, speaking of average size, I brought these to show you guys. So today my chickens laid this egg, which is quite average, quite normal, and then this little egg.
I've
Look at
heard
this.
they'll lay the small ones occasionally.
Yeah. This is the first one I've gotten. Apparently, they're called a fart egg, which is fucking hilarious. But
Are you
this is
gonna
the
eat
first
it?
one. I'm gonna crack it open and make sure. I mean, if it looks okay, but like I'm super curious. But I saved it first. This weekend I'll make breakfast. But like I just wanted to show you guys. This egg is like, I mean, it's like the size of like a nickel. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
Maybe that chicken has some quail in it.
I was gonna make the same joke that they're laying quail or a quail got in my coop.
Yeah. So
funny.
here is where to go. Captain Ancapistan, another friend of the show, his thoughts on this. Dear MAGA, if you're serious about saving the country, you have to favor drastic cuts in government spending. If you favor drastic cuts in government spending, these should be your two favorite members of the GOP. Sincerely, people who pay attention and read books. I don't know about that, but you know.
People who read books.
So we got
People who
Massie
shoot guns
and
at
Paul.
books. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like it.
all right. And then one more here. Share that. Liam McCollum. Most Republicans campaign like they are Thomas Massie and vote like they are Lindsey Graham. That is unfortunately very true.
That feels too accurate.
And what's most aggravating about this is that kind of the fact that that's true. You know, the fact that Republicans go around campaigning like they're Thomas Massie then kind of gives rise to like these industrial policy folks and like the people that like it still are on the right but are very critical of like real laissez-faire economics, because they'll be like, well, we've already tried all of this free market policy and look at how our culture has deteriorated, and that's why we need tariffs. And that's why we need these government programs. And it's like the messaging coming out of the Republicans makes everybody think that we have all of these free market policies and that we're living in a free market utopia when we're actually not.
That's a really
and
good
so
point,
it's like
honestly.
the worst of both worlds, where everybody thinks that the problems are being caused by the free market policies, when actually they're being caused by government. It's the same problem to a lesser extent, you know, of lefties that criticize the U.S. healthcare system because they say that, well, the U.S. has a free market in healthcare and it's awful. But obviously, we have nowhere even close to a free market in healthcare. People only think that we do.
Yes, it's a free market that you have to go on a government-built website to buy it.
That crashes,
if you don't have it through your employer, which they're forced to provide something by law if they have over a certain number of employees.
Yeah. What is the number for that? Do you know? Is it 100 or is it less than that?
It's something around there, I think.
Yeah.
But it's absurd. The healthcare system is not in any way a free market, and
no.
Their attempt to fix it through Obamacare really screwed things up even more. Like I remember, like how you heard do I want to go on the Obamacare rant? Not really, but we know how bad it is.
We all know
it sucks, and that we know healthcare costs have done nothing but skyrocket since then. Since the law basically says if you guys want to increase your profit, you can only increase your prices X amount every year, and they're going to go, okay, we're going to increase our prices that amount every year.
Yeah, you just gave them the playbook for exactly what to do there. And...
Well, they didn't give it to them. They enacted the law that they wanted. I mean, the Congress creatures didn't write it. The lobbyists and the healthcare companies wrote it. Health insurance companies wrote it, and then they lobbied, and then Nancy Pelosi told everyone they can find out what was in it after they voted to approve it.
Is that right? That's insane.
Yeah.
Yes, she said we have to pass
it that way we can know what's in it.
Oh my god!
And it's not like
Getting on the mystery box.
big turning of events was Obamacare either. I wouldn't say it was a free market in healthcare before that either.
No, not really.
Like
no.
I thought,
It hasn't been since World War II.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah.
like I thought a slam dunk would be allow people to buy health insurance across state lines. I'm like, yeah, competition's good.
Yeah.
If I can find better health insurance in Tennessee, I should be able to do that. But it's insane to me that Obamacare happened in like 2010 or something. We were having this conversation.
Yeah.
Here we are, 2025, still can't do that. Like
I
it
feel like we
seems that there
have-
is no appetite for the free market, yet we do get blamed for it. And I remember seeing even articles and people, these same people that Zane is talking about during Biden being like, libertarians have been running everything and they've ruined it. And it's time for real government to step in. I'm like,
Since when have
what
libertarians
fantasy
run
world are you
anything?
living in?
That's a fantasy world they live in every time they go. Oh, this government enforced solution that we pretend was free market failed,
Yeah.
so we can't, or maybe it was slightly more free market than that, but still heavily regulated and controlled. And they're like, oh, well, freeing it up a little bit didn't fix it. So,
Or sometimes I feel like, maybe there will be a reform that we would agree with, and the government just handles it in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
And then when it's a failure, people point to it and be like, well, see, we can't do that anymore. And like one example is like a guy who was on this show, his name I completely forget, but he was like, well, legalizing drugs has been a huge failure in Portland and Vancouver and Seattle and all these places. But I'm like, not only did they legalize or decriminalize drugs, but they handed out needles, let people shoot up on the library steps. It's like there's a difference between just legalizing, but still, you can't.
And they went to the
elementary
places
school
that have some of the highest, already a drug problem kind of thing to test this. And
it's full of insane leftists in those cities, so people are already mentally messed up. But I mean, if you're going to look at a solution like that, you have to look at Portugal and what Portugal did and how they had set up centers where if you were going to shoot up, you could go shoot up there in a place where if you overdose, there's someone there, it's off the street, and there's assistance available there when you're ready to get off of it. And so
isn't Portugal one of the better spots in the world as far as drug laws?
Yeah, because they backed off on that and kind of said, all right, you can do this stuff, but some of the stuff you've got to go to these places, and when they go there, they do it, so you kind of you make it safer, because now at least it's stuff that you're not dealing with all the fentanyl, or at least you have someone there if you OD,
right?
Someone that can actually bring you back, and then you do
give them a little Narcan and send them on their way.
Yeah, and then it takes it off the street. It kind of gets rid of the vagrancy that comes along with that. So it's not a perfect solution. It's not a
I don't think there's any perfect solution, but I
legalize it. But it's
like what they're doing more.
It's been a highly successful highly successful move on their part, showing that there are reforms that can work if you're not retarded.
When people point to drug use or something and go drugs should be illegal because when on drugs, people are more likely to rob someone or neglect their children or a thing that's already illegal, right? There's already a law for it. If that's the way you go with your life and then you neglect to feed your child or you do an armed robbery or something, those things are fucking illegal already. There's already, we don't need another law.
If you did it because you were a drunk, it would be just as bad.
Things.
It's the exact thing. The logic of prohibition of drugs is literally the exact same logic as the prohibition of alcohol.
Yep.
And everybody knows prohibition of alcohol was a bad idea. It's one of the few things that people actually get taught correctly in, high school history class, is that prohibition was a huge debacle.
That's a good point.
And yet nobody realizes that drug prohibition is literally the exact same.
Yeah, where do we draw the line between quote unquote hard drugs and alcohol or whatever? And like, why is marijuana like a Schedule 1 drug? That's insane. Or is it still? Maybe they changed it, but it was Schedule 1.
I think it
for the
still is.
time. Yeah, federally considered Schedule 1.
And even though, some of these cities may have decriminalized it, like there's still just so much meddling going on. And a lot of it seems to be done through NGOs and nonprofits that are getting government grants to just do nonsense, even if it doesn't help.
And then technically it's still federally illegal. So for things that pertain to like firearms and different things, like it can still get legally kind of weird because like it's not federally considered any different. So there's funkiness with that. Like, I don't know.
Like I forget where I heard this, but apparently you can't shoot up fentanyl. I didn't know that. I'm not in the fentanyl scene, but you can shoot up heroin. So needle exchanges used to be a big thing, but now that fentanyl
like
is
just fentanyl, or like, because I know that some stuff is laced with fentanyl, and then there's just fentanyl. I don't know. I'm not into
really
heroin.
don't know. I'm not.
The way you do fentanyl is by dripping it into your ear. If you didn't know.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I don't think.
Oh my god! I was like, I don't fucking know. Like,
that's the thing, is that the fentanyl is not necessarily something people are, I guess, generally seeking out. Like it's been,
apparently
it's been mixed in with.
it.
Yeah, well, but you can smoke heroin too.
But smoke anything. I just don't know if it's
smoke opioids in general.
Anyway,
yeah, it's usually
what I was getting at there, real quick,
is
that the needle exchange money dried up. Because people aren't shooting heroin as much. So they just pivoted to getting money from the government to hand out aluminum foil so people could smoke the fentanyl. And it's like, you could at least make an argument for harm reduction with the needle exchanges. But now, there's no harm, I guess, in sharing aluminum foil. So that's really just government money that these people are trying to get. And they have to think of some new creative way to do it.
Yeah. Instead of just crumpling up something you find in the street. I don't know I have no idea how to take fentanyl. I have no knowledge of this, but
I mean,
Buddy can tell us.
I said, I don't know how much it's actually like people go searching just for that, or it's often just laced in whatever, because you can cut, the active ingredient of other drugs down, lace it with that at a, very small amount. That's a whole lot. And then increase your profit margins. So that's kind of the way that the business has gone, is that having a gram of fentanyl, and if a gram of fentanyl and a gram of heroin get you the same punishment, you're gonna move to pushing the fentanyl because it's so much more, you get so much more bang for your buck when you're cutting it and putting it out there. You get people the same effect they're looking for a lower. So
raw dog fentanyl.
Yeah, but he says people do straight fent.
Yeah,
I'm sure people do, but I'm saying a lot of times there's a whole lot of.
Yeah, I think there's people like the street people you see passed out on the sidewalk. They're probably doing it on purpose. And then there's the people who go to a party and do a line of cocaine and they did it on accident because they didn't know it was in there.
Yeah. And they have no tolerance built up to it. So if it's too much, like, because you can build your tolerance up to something like that, but then especially like opioids and stuff. But if this is
Brian has 5 years building up a resistance to iocane powder.
Yes. Brian brings up that also in everything, because it's more concentrated for smuggling too.
The smaller size.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
All right. Well, I'm really not sure how we got off on that. That was a good conversation. But let's laugh at the British for just a second. So that brings us to drunkard.
Is that British?
That's Australian. It's boy governor.
Here we go. Let's laugh at British people.
I am not fucking drunk.
Is that
kitchen?
Every Brit girl deserves to go to a ball.
This is everything about it's a clam. I love it.
I gotta be honest with you, I feel like I'm a little bit too drunk to stand up.
On Wiedersehen, asshole.
I'm drunk right now.
Is that kitchen knives are perhaps 25% of the knives used in most of the terrible crimes. That's one of the stats in the films. And those kitchen knives are usually a domestic situation. Okay. So kitchen knives, of course, it's very difficult. They're a domestic knife. I do think there is areas of innovation that we can do with kitchen knives. I hate to say it, not all kitchen knives need to have a point on them.
Oh my God.
That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but actually it would reduce. You know, you can still cut your food without the point on the knife, which is an innovative way to sort of look at it. And in a country in crisis, I'm sorry, but yeah, let's look at that.
When he says innovative,
But
just
the
think
truth
retarded.
is, all knives, the loophole on the heritage knives allows the sale of zombie ninja swords to be sold. So while, you've got your granddad's sword on there and you want that, that's fine, of course, but it is leaving a loophole for someone to carry a ninja sword. So let's ban them all. And if you have one of those knives, get a license for it. Simple as that. And I think it's a small contribution to society if you say, all right, I'm going to back that. I'll get a license for my granddad's sword because it is leaving, these kids vulnerable.
I'm not as think as you drunk I am.
That was insane. What are we fucking talking about? I use the point on my kitchen knife all the fucking time, by the way.
The UK is a failed country.
Yeah,
I love how, because he admits that the UK is a country in crisis, but instead of doing any further reflection on the causes or solutions of the crisis, he says, you know what the real problem is here? People in their kitchens using kitchen knives.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
Go ahead.
What England's turned into. I mean, Zach probably knows a little bit more as far as like the domestic spying they have. I mean, London has more cameras than any other city in the world, right? It's absolutely so they put up all these cameras. They're spying on you. You say mean things on Twitter, you're gonna get, white person that says mean thing on Twitter gets a higher prison sentence than
that have been fined
rapists.
or arrested for things that they've said on social media in that country is outlandish. Yeah.
It's higher than the number of people who have been arrested in Russia for the same thing.
That's what I thought. I couldn't remember if it was Russia or China or somewhere, but like the comparison was to like a nation that you would expect this from more or whatever.
Mean old Russia.
Yeah.
They're still better than, in some ways, in this way, than the UK. They're not throwing you in jail for...
But how crazy is that you can compare to like Russia or like, something that comes up like communist nations or something where like the rule of government, the style is just completely different. And also a lot bigger. Too, just by sheer size. I don't know what population, but like by sheer size.
Most of Russia's pretty sparsely populated.
Yeah, I don't know the whole. But in general, Russia's ginormous. And so you've got just a really wild comparison with that. I've heard that statistic.
You're looking at
people arrested during like lockdowns for going on a solo hike in nature alone and arrested for that. And like they were using, things, and Australia and England were doing wild shit during the COVID stuff and using drones and spying on people on the beach and tracking license plates and seeing how many miles they've driven from home and yada yada. And just look to them for like the what to be afraid of in our future kind of thing.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is that now that the lefties are running the UK government again, you've got their prosecution or whatever group that's over there. Actually changed their sentencing guidelines to take into account if you are from a minority group, you get a more lenient sentence than if you're white English or anything like that. So, you already see it where they've got the immigrant gangs going out and committing the heinous crimes. And then the cops are more worried about you saying mean things on social media. I mean, we've seen the videos of them rolling up to someone's house and it all started back with at least the first one I can think of is Count Dankula over his goofy little video he made. But yeah, imagine knives like that in your house.
I mean, if you want to buy
fucking country.
Yeah, I mean, certain knives, slicing knives, like if you've, those big long, like meat slicing knives for use for brisket or something like that, like they don't need a point or whatever, but like your chef's knife needs a goddamn point. I use it all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, and then
I don't even
factor in
understand
then to continue on about their messed up situation. They're actually their economy is actually shrinking. It's not even like growing I think it's actually shrinking and not even just like growing slightly. Or it's growing slightly, like 0.1%, but when you're factoring in population growth through immigration and stuff like that, per capita, it's actually shrinking. Like
or
it's
factor in inflation on top
like
of that.
it's absolutely impossible to do business there. It's impossible to say anything there. It's insane what they've turned that place into, and it's a good thing that we left in 1776 and told them to get fucked.
The ruling in whatever their court system is called or whatever that gives based on race a different sentence is just like the absolute. I know the whole justice is blind thing is like just sort of like not practiced very well in terms of like more like social status and things like that, and it's not exactly true, but at least it should be that you strive for it kind of thing. And then there's if you start writing things into like the actual law and the code and the system that it's like askew based on these superficialities, that is just insane to me and just such a huge step backwards.
Rule of law is a myth, says Brian Allen. That's true. It's the
Disregard.
rule of men. That's all we have. That's all you can have. But anyway, I just don't understand why you guys are against ending violence for good.
As men.
That's true. Rule of peoples.
Yeah, well, the fact is, violence is going to happen, right? There are violent people. There are bad people. They do bad things, and they're
we're just one law away.
Right. So you're going to take the point out. You're going to take the point off the knife, but that doesn't stop slashing. You're going to take the guns away. That doesn't stop people with trucks from running in the crowds. I mean, we saw this in Germany again. This past week, I think there was another one in Germany.
Take away the trucks.
Are you going to have to sell baseball bats with pillows on them too? Like,
yeah.
I don't understand where.
Well, it's England. They don't have cricket. They don't have baseball.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I mean, imagine if you can't even wrap a bat with barbed wire. Right?
Well, I do find it funny that Idris Elba was like, "Yeah, your granddad's ninja sword." You know, everybody's granddad was a ninja.
I literally actually inherited a katana of swords from my grandpa, because he was in Okinawa or whatever, and like, but most probably don't have their granddad's quote unquote.
I was expecting it's like my granddad was just a massive weeb. He loved anime so much.
My granddad was a LARPer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of this part of what he said, where it's like just get a license for your granddad's ninja sword, what part of getting a license is supposed to ensure that you're the type of person that would never ever commit domestic violence?
Right.
Like so often when I hear all this stuff about licensing, what exactly do these people think that the license is going to actually do?
I don't understand it at all, honestly.
Oh, you got your permit license.
Drove the trucks. Yeah, the people who drove the trucks were probably licensed to drive, but they still ran over people.
And they also had licenses for their TV.
Yeah.
Or supposed to have licenses for their TV.
TV.
Yeah, you have to pay for licenses for your TV, and every TV in your house has to have a license.
Is this in England?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They monitor.
That's how they fund the BBC. They have.
And they
they
figure
have
out
cars that
if
can
you
figure out.
Yeah, they figure out if you bought a TV, and then they send you a letter saying you have to have a license.
Is this? Wait a minute. Is this any screen? Like, what about a monitor? Does that count as?
It has to be capable of getting the BBC.
Yeah. So it's directly connected. Well, then good, because I don't fucking give a shit about the BBC. So I would just say it's just for Xbox or whatever.
No. But if it's capable of it, if it has a
so if you saw
if it has a coax port,
you could change your mind and love the BBC one day. So Brian says psych evaluations. Yeah. Psych evaluations are usually part of the proposal. So not only would you need a license for your, granddad's World War II sword,
right,
but you would have to go see some shrink who probably is biased against you having it. So
you have to get a background check to cut meat in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And
while they are allowed to have meat.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
yeah.
long.
Well, and then You guys remember that that bridge attack that happened in London several years back?
When London Bridge fell
It was
down?
like
London
it was.
bridges.
I think the guy who stopped them like grabbed a narwhal tusk off of a wall somewhere and like stopped the dude. I
You
think
can
that was the
use
story.
Wait,
anything.
did he have a
Yeah,
license?
that's hilarious.
Apparently, you don't need a license for a narwhal tusk.
But this is a good point of honestly, like, do you license what? Is it everything pointy? Is it everything you can kill someone with? Because like, I don't want to brag, but I could kill someone with a Sharpie if I wanted to. Like, I don't understand.
You got to wrap your hands in bubble wrap so you can't punch someone too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're nerfing.
Wait,
the
do you have a license to not have your hands wrapped in bubble wrap?
I see skin. You're going to jail. Ridiculous.
Well,
But
they would have
also-
to make files illegal too, because like I could just get a piece of metal and file it down.
A file. I thought you meant digital like files. Like I can
Sorry.
Might as well do that too.
Yeah, that's
But-
true.
Yeah, but the other part of this is like, police. We have our issues with the way police operate in the U.S., but you're talking about cops who literally don't have guns. Like, I'm gonna blow my whistle at you. Okay, motherfucker.
Billy Club.
Like, what are you gonna do, right?
I've
Like,
got just in this bag, this little Milwaukee tote that I've got here. That's like my little go bag for house projects. There's probably 13 things in there that you could kill someone with. And what are we going to license screwdrivers and drills and
Hammers.
mallets and hammers and like like every single
Probably.
thing? I just don't understand because like the kitchen knife thing. He's saying statistically enough crimes happen with them or whatever, and like, but if you start either licensing them or changing the shape of them or whatever, then someone's just gonna grab the next fucking thing that you can bludgeon.
they should have learned it about
Jesus.
guns, right? They got rid of well, I don't know how much they ever let you. They were looser with gun laws, but they were still fairly strict. I think going back a ways. But right, you can't own a gun to defend yourself, or or criminals can't get.
See, this is why we're using kitchen knives.
Criminals can't get it. So, all right, what's the next thing? A knife. I can conceal it. I can get that pretty much anywhere. It's So they went to that. So now it's
murder rates in Britain, because I know it's got to still happen at some level.
Oh, it does. The criminals still find ways to get them.
That's the thing. This is what I'm curious about.
And 3D printer also goes burr. So
Turns out criminals don't follow laws.
This is the whole thing. And then like you get the people, the law-abiding citizens that'll license everything or whatever. That doesn't even account for the people that are probably most likely to inflict harm on another person.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, the criminals don't follow the laws, right? Murder is illegal, assault's illegal, all this stuff is illegal. But all you've done is right. We keep saying that every time they want to try to bring up stuff here. It's the fact that all you're doing is making it harder on a law-abiding person because, yeah, I mean, at least here, like guns are ubiquitous, right? There's multiple guns for every person here.
I feel like we're living in a retarded parallel universe to like the Minority Report, where instead of like trying to like stop crimes, they just bubble wrap the whole fucking world and try to prevent crime or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what happens with the participation trophy leftist culture that we've become.
wherever it comes from, it doesn't make much sense to me. And if anyone tries to tell me I can't have a pointy end on a fucking chef's knife, I'm gonna fucking flip out. So I used it today.
How dare you?
You must
Any
hate
more on
children.
this? Yeah, you
Not-
do.
Not really. I mean, this was Drunkard of the Week, and we went off on a whole rant about this stuff. But yeah, fuck England.
There we go.
Fuck you, Dad.
But unfortunately, we do have our own problems here, and one of them is Stacey
No.
Abrams.
She's
So-
your problem, not my problem.
She's everybody's problem. So this article says EPA head Zeldin grills Stacey Abrams nonprofit accused of obscuring $2 billion Biden admin grant. So my understanding of this story was that Stacey Abrams had yet another group. She has a bunch of them. And this one was running a pilot program in a small town in Georgia called DeSoto that has like 120 people there as of 2023 or so, and was buying them new refrigerators or something like that. And they're supposed to be, energy efficient and better for the environment. And that pilot program was proving that they needed $2 billion to do that, on a more widespread basis.
Fridges for this town of under 200 people.
Well, I guess they were going to go further on it, but the idea was like, we're going to buy refrigerators for poor rural Georgians who don't know how to go to Home Depot themselves, I guess.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead.
And then, well, what's wild is we talk about the whole welfare system, right? So, there's, of course, paying people whenever they can't make enough to get through it, and then food benefit, food stamps and this benefit and that benefit and whatever else that's already in there. But then you talk about, oh, look at these poor people. We're also going to, drop, millions, or in this case, supposed to have dropped billions on let's buy these people stuff. It's absolutely insane. I think there are people who struggle who, having a refrigerator is kind of more than a luxury. It's kind of in the modern world, in a modern, first world nation, having a refrigerator, a microwave, a stove is kind of bare essentials to get stuff done, to be able to have and store food. And so I get it, but
I don't think anyone was claiming that people didn't have refrigerators.
Right,
it's that they had old refrigerators that are not good. They're not green or good for the environment. We had to buy them updated ones.
Yeah, who cares? My parents have a refrigerator from the 70s in their basement.
They're probably better.
I'm sure it's better than it's going to last longer.
It's from the 70s. It's from maybe it's not from the 70s, but maybe the 80s. And I mean that's their basement fridge. Well, there's 2 basement fridges now because they got a new fridge a couple years ago. And so the old fridge is down in the basement now too, but that other one is still down there and it's still cranking away. And I don't know if it's efficient, but it works.
I buy fridges off of like Facebook Marketplace for $100 that are an older generation fridge, and they're like, it's like my garage fridge. It works fine, like $100, and I had to fix a couple of drawers on it or whatever, But
yeah.
So I think we may have come across another example of the free market being blamed when it's actually the government's fault for there being a problem. Because, you always hear people talking about, oh, well, they don't make things like they used to. Why is the quality of all these products so bad these days? And people will usually say it's because all of the greedy companies are enacting planned obsolescence because they want to force people to buy more of their products. But that doesn't really hold up, because you would have to claim that companies 50 years ago are actually so much less greedy than they are today. That it's only in the past couple of decades that they decided that they're going to start being greedy and start making
greed is spiking
products
right now.
I think that
and I'm not saying this is the only culprit, but I think one of the major culprits is the number of new regulations about, energy efficiency in particular, that the only way that you can comply with them and still make a product that anybody can afford at all is to make products that suck in quality. It's the same way with cars as well.
I was going to say, we see this in the automobile industry where you have, like they're making trucks. They're trying to keep them the same size or bigger, but you're going into, you're making aluminum chassis, which isn't always necessarily that bad because, there are some alloys of aluminum that are pretty good. You can do things engineering wise on that, but you're making it lighter with aluminum instead of steel. You're sticking 4-cylinder engines in them instead of at least 6 or 8 like they should have, because you've got to have it lower.
Which only really on paper gets better gas mileage, because you can, under ideal conditions at like certain like level ground and certain altitudes and payloads, get the numbers to be lower. But as soon as you start towing something, it just goes out the window. Like
that's all the EPA's fault. All of
you have to benchmark it at some point, right? And that's why you have the environmental tests and whatever inspections that they're like, it's going to run at this, and the cars are set for cycles. And if you remember a couple years back, Volkswagen was like, well, we can get around this shit. And they figured out how to reduce, how to change up the car settings. So when it recognized it was in test mode, it passed, and then when it wasn't in test mode, it went on. And they got sued. They got the shit beat out of them by the government for that. And I was looking at it.
I remember the whole diesel scandal thing or whatever, the Dieselgate thing with them. But
yeah, that's what it was. Was that they had changed up they had made it so that the cars recognized they were in test mode, and they changed their operation to meet standards in test mode, and then whenever they were out of test mode, they were just operating normally, which I thought was great.
A digital
real quick
stall converter.
Let's let Stacey Abrams respond to this, because I mean, I'm sure you guys are being unfair. Yeah, let's let these two lesbians talk real quick.
So what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
So
in
what would you
2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your cost. And in fact, we accomplished that for 75% of the community. They got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98. That's what.
Real quick, whose refrigerator is half of their bill? That's insane.
I'm not buying it.
No, I'm not buying that either. I've seen people do tests of fridges like with the Energy Star versus not running, and the difference is so marginal that the close to half thing just feels like bullshit to me.
I'd have to see those tests.
Go ahead.
I'd have to see those tests and what the procedure was on it, because like if one's better insulated than another, and the efficiency that it goes through, like if you're just talking about power draw at a certain particular time, that's not necessarily going to tell you anything.
Well, I don't have to see it to tell you that's bull crap. So. And then also in the tiny town of DeSoto, which even she said 75% would be like 90 people. So how many households is that?
Well, and how much money is this costing the government, which is in a sense costing those people too? And if you think about like how much money you're spending to save, like it just doesn't make sense. It's just a circle jerk of money. I just don't understand it.
Well, it's because the NGO that does like her organization that does it's probably paid themselves some pretty hefty salaries to facilitate the installation of all of these fridges.
Oh, she was probably paying herself $1 million at least on that shit.
Yeah.
Because that's how that works.
And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans.
If we can do it for $2 billion,
invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it. And they then granted those dollars to this coalition of organizations who came together, bringing 250 years and $100 billion worth of experience to doing this project. What they are angry about is that it's going to work, because we know it can work. And in fact, the hypocrisy is that just today, the EPA quietly released funds for one portion of this program, $7 billion, where $100 million of that will go to West Virginia for solar projects. Another $60 million will go to Alaska for solar projects.
Well, they
know this works. They know it will reduce cost. They are angry about the fact that it is Democrats who know how to serve the American people and lower their prices. God. They know that they are about to cost Americans money, and that those of us willing to deliver results must be shut down before people notice.
Yeah. Only Democrats know how to buy fridges.
Yeah. So yeah, they can take $2 billion and they can scale that $2 billion that serves 200 people to serving millions of people. Now, Zane, what's the quick math on how much money that would cost at that rate?
What's the scale?
A zillion. But by the way, let me just bring up something. I'll throw it back over to you guys. But another thing that she's now being accused of for all of this is that this was basically buying votes. So You know, you find some poor hicks in South Georgia, you get them a fridge, and you're like, all right, there you go, vote Democrat. We bought you a fridge.
Where is DeSoto? You want to pull it up on a map? I'm curious where it actually is. But yeah, so we're talking about, is it buying votes? Is it this is, I mean, the numbers that on this don't make any sense. I mean, a fridge is a couple $100 brand new. Like a half decent fridge is, a couple $100 brand new.
Brand new, a couple $100 mini fridge is brand new. Fridges are pretty expensive now, man.
So the population of DeSoto is 214. So we're talking about just over 100 households, most likely. And so only about 75 actual refrigerators.
I mean, I mean, if you're not talking the top of the line fridge, you could probably get one for under $1,000. I'm trying to think, like my big freezer downstairs was maybe 1,200 at most.
I mean, we're not talking Nancy Pelosi fridges.
And like a big ass freezer is a lot more. Well, one, they don't make those in the same numbers, and as
so the one
fridges.
angle that they're talking about saving the people money, and then like to Zach's point, that feels a little like by the votey a little bit. But if you're going with this green angle, it's not green to take a fridge that's fucking working and throw it in the landfill and buy a new fridge and replace it. That's not green. Like the margins here, like how much you save per fridge, which by the way is, I guarantee, is not as much as she's saying. Even if it's half of what she's saying, it's not enough to warrant landfilling one fridge and then replacing it with a new fridge. And then of course that fridge came from China. So you have to make it and get it here, and the raw materials and just shipping it here alone from somewhere else, the carbon footprint of that negates the all the savings for 100 years of using a fridge. So I just
there's one other factor too that you're not taking into account. If we're talking an older fridge, I bet that refrigerant is now banned. That's in the older fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're right though.
Dude, I hope they got
which means someone's gonna have to come out and drain that. Then properly dispose of that refrigerant.
Yeah.
Which only Democrats can do, by the way.
They're licensed to do it, yeah.
Dude, I really hope we find out that they got to keep their old fridge and they're just running two of them now. Like they have one in the garage, one in the house.
Well, that would be great. I mean, sure.
And somehow energy prices went down, and I don't know, but this whole thing was just Stacey Abrams live off the government grift, which is what you see with these NGOs, which
nothing new.
I don't know how you call anything a non-government organization when it's a government-funded organization.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. It totally wouldn't exist without the government.
We should really call it a GFO.
Yes.
Get
the fuck out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you guys work with wood shop kind of tools or whatever, and yeah, perfect. Yeah. So I don't know if you know the Saw Stop table saw, which is a technology that registers, I think it's a certain amount of moisture in something, and if it has that, then the blade basically plunges down into an aluminum block inside, and it's supposed to save you from cutting your hand off, because if you put a hot dog in it, the whole video of it, when someone puts a hot dog and then it boom, but it's very expensive to make. So saw stop saws, table saws are, I mean, $1,000 to $2,000 or something more than your average table saw. It's just but some people use it, especially in commercial shop situations where they have liabilities and multiple people using it and whatever. It's available as a thing. The patent on the technology is owned by this one company. The government, there was rumblings of last year about them making it mandatory that all table saws have this technology because it exists, but it is patented by one company. So you have this weird situation where this hasn't happened officially yet, but they were talking about this, and I hope to fucking God they never do this.
Is it owned by Stacey Abrams?
Yeah, leading the charge here, spearheaded by. But first of all, Zane was talking about earlier, one aspect of this is if you mandate that someone has a certain safety technology that's very expensive, then the price of it either goes way up and or the quality goes lower because you have to cut corners in other areas or whatever. The average price of a table saw would, just basically double overnight for the average person. And then now you
mean,
also have the problem of the only company that has the technology to do this is privately sitting on it or whatever. And I think they were talking about like, you know, do they sell the licensing rights to it, or are they the only ones that make it, or are they going? Do you just trust that they're gonna, you know, let people use it or whatever? But like, it's a weird situation for the government to come in and say everything has to be a certain way, and then one company owns the patent for that item. Is just a completely fucked situation.
Well, not to mention on, you know, you're saying you're also introducing a failure mode when you talk about putting sensors on there. Like, you know, I'm guessing if the sensor burns out, the sensor malfunctions, then it's going to stop the whole thing from working, which means you're a more expensive tool because it's got the extra safety features, cost more money. It's the same thing in cars, right? Like they say, oh, all cars now have to have a backup camera, which, you know, a camera is not that expensive. That's not a huge additional cost to do. But when you start talking about like all these other sensors, you know, the blind spot monitoring or the backup sensors and stuff, like, you know, you get a little fender bender where it would normally cost you, you know, a little bit to go get a bumper replaced, which isn't cheap, but at least that's, you know, pull some bolts.
All your sensors are on it now. Like
now you got to put sensors, you got to calibrate it. I mean, they talk with like the self-driving cars are the ones that have some, at least on the highway, you know, they're able to maintain lanes and everything. Whenever you replace a windshield, you have to recalibrate sensors too. You can't, like, I had my windshield replaced last fall from a crack, and the Safe Light guy came out and replaced it, and my insurance didn't cover it because it was less than my deductible. They're like, just pay it. So I paid it. You know, he came out, he did it in my driveway, and it was done. But if you have, you know, any of these fancy sensors, you've got to take the time to go drive to their place and sit there while they do it, while I was sitting at home just doing whatever I wanted while he was in my driveway replacing the windshield.
The government also, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they did something like if a car company doesn't include every safety feature that they have access to or own the patents to, or like, you know, provide on other model cars on a car, they don't let that car earn a 5-star crash safety test rating, even if in the fucking crash test it deserves a 5-star, unless it has all of those safety components. And so that's why the base model car price is like gotten much closer to like the top car price. And in general, all prices of cars have gone up like a lot. I bought a 3-year-old car, you know, in 2008 for like $14,000, and now like a 3-year-old car now is like $23,000 or more. Like it's just like gone up like 10 or 15 grand.
Yeah,
like on
it's
average.
like when you factor everything in, it's almost not like worth it buying these couple-year-old cars.
Yeah,
when you talk about,
we bought a new car.
I will get more time. I will get more time out of this car by buying it new, by having a warranty on the drivetrain, than I will if I go and I buy this slightly cheaper used one. Because
the other thing is, how do you work on it? Because I've changed a radiator and fans and belts and whatever, just like various little things. I'm not like the most handy person, but like these new cars, I'm like, I don't want to work on half of these like newer cars.
Well, it's so computerized and you need the software to do it.
Yeah.
And it's
needed.
Yeah, it's not something that you really can do it unless you're really into it.
Yeah. You'd spend more money in tools to do it than it would be worth.
Yep. So real quick, just to illustrate this with Stacey Abrams again, I pulled up some articles, which is very much not, you know, complete, or this is just what I found within a few minutes of searching of all the times that her different groups have been investigated for various nonsense. And here's one from just earlier this year. It says Georgia Senate panel probing Fulton DA now turns its focus to Stacey Abrams and New Georgia Project. So there's one.
Probing.
Here's another one. January 10th, 2023. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is pleased to announce the recovery of costs associated with defending the state in the lawsuit Fair Fight Action versus Raffensperger. So it seems like maybe they sued Georgia, but there's another group that's been up to some nonsense. Here's another one from 2020. Georgia group founded by Stacey Abrams under investigation for seeking out of state and dead voters.
And it was previously chaired by Raphael Warnock.
Yes. And this is groups it was actually groups plural, including America Votes, Vote Forward, and again, the New Georgia Project. And if you didn't like that was Fox News, here is MSNBC or just NBC News saying the same thing. Fair Fight Action, which I think we already heard. Basically, federal judge rules against Stacey Abrams' group in voting rights lawsuit. So she goes through all of these different groups, getting these grants, getting this money, getting these donations. They end up breaking the law and getting investigated, and she just leaves and forms a new group. And I know this is something that Brad Binkley, Propaganda Report, has covered for years and years and years. So we're just scratching the surface here. But, this is definitely sketchy. She's a sketchy person. And this is just the latest thing, which probably nothing will come of it, is my opinion. I don't know. They'll investigate. They'll figure out that, yeah, she shouldn't have done this. And she'll go on to do it with her newest group. Yeah.
I mean, let's go look up what her house looks like versus our houses.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing hers is a lot bigger. And what does she do?
What's her fridge look like?
Well, it would need to be.
What does she do except find these, run for office and found these groups and run these groups and probably make, I'm guessing she's probably paying herself 7 figures on it. I mean, when you got $2 billion grant, you just need to buy a couple refrigerators.
Yep. All right. Well, that brings us to.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got to move on.
That's all right.
But that's enough Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of houses and nice houses, we have an old, what is this? Boy Meets World clip here that Jake wanted us to watch. This illustrates how the Fed has destroyed our future. So this is Boy Meets World in 1999.
Very simple, over 30 years, just a trifle down payment, and a pittance of a mortgage, and 2 living parents with a pet book inside.
So that clip was from Boy Meets World, and that episode aired in 1999, and I couldn't help myself, so I had to run the numbers. The show took place in Philly, and I saw that the median house price was around $80,000 in 1999. Now, Corey and Topanga were high school students without a job, so they couldn't qualify, but what about the median household income back then? It's $40,000. Which is about $3,300 a month. And a 3% down payment on the median house was only $2,400. So somebody in Philly in 1999 didn't even have to save 1 month's income to put a down payment on this house. And the interest rates were around 7%, just like they are today. So with principal, interest, property taxes, insurance, and private mortgage insurance, the total payment was $750 a month to get the median house in Philly. And you're making $3,300. So that's about what, 25%? So a family making 40 grand could take care of their entire mortgage in just 1 week. And then I wanted to see, well, let's just see what happened to the prices in Philadelphia, because we know the averages around the country, but let's look at Philly. $80,000 was the median price in 1999. It's now $250,000, so below the average for the nation, but the income was $40,000 for the median household. Now it's $60,000. So the housing price, even in Philly, went up over 200% in the last 25 years, but the income only went up 53%. So even in smaller cities, metro cities, no matter where we look, I don't think I have found a city in America where the housing and income was even close to keeping up.
All right. So let's go to Alden. I want to hear your thoughts on this and just Topanga in general.
Well, funny that you go to me because we just bought our first house, and I mean, I was a kid in the 90s and got out of college and all of that, and was like, oh, well, let me just kind of like bounce around the country for a little bit, see where I want to settle down. But the longer that we didn't buy a house, the like harder it kind of got. And then like you have this like mindset where you're like, well, I don't want to buy at this point. Like, let me wait for the market to kind of like come down a little bit or whatever. And then like we kept getting like further and further from, instead of like closer to feeling comfortable with or able to, buy a house. Part of that was because we moved out west. And so I had geographically, economically out west, it's just accelerated even more. And so then we bounced back east, partly because of the economics there. But in general, it was frustrating to see it where if I had a time machine, I'd be like, you idiot, fucking buy a starter home fucking 15 years ago, don't rent, that kind of thing, have an asset or whatever. But I didn't do that, of course. And so just anecdotally, just in my case, just in the last, decade and a half, like it just was with the money that we were making and seeing the prices and stuff, like it was just getting further out of reach than it was more attainable or whatever. And we basically just had to finally, you get to a point where you save up enough that you can kind of just barely do it. And then we were like, all right, well, I guess let's just do it just so, because then we were afraid we were going to get locked out even further.
Yeah.
But
and thoughts
I
on
don't know where you guys
Topanga?
fall on this, but on what?
On Topanga. I mean,
Topanga?
how do you feel about Boy Meets World?
Oh, I never watched Boy Meets World, so I have no idea.
Dude, you missed out.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. So Nick or Zane, one of you, tell us about how the Fed did this. And also, Zane, if you want to get set up for trivia, I'm going to go grab my whiteboard. I forgot about that.
Well, I'll continue a little bit from what Alden said, because I purchased a house last year about the same time Alden did. So,
That's right, yeah.
So I went through this. Like I was looking at the prices. I'm looking at what I was paying for rent down there in Atlanta, and I'm looking at house prices here. And if I start going, I'm shocked. I go and I get the pre-approval, and they're like, "Oh, you can spend this much." And then I'm looking at the payments on that, and I'm like, I don't want to pay that much each month on a mortgage. And so I came under a lot. Like I think they, just for that, they told me, my pre-approval was like $300,000. Just my income, and then and I ended up buying for a little over, for like 214, 215 ish, I think, somewhere in there. So I was like, I'm not going excessive. I'm buying something that I think I can afford the monthly payments on, and it was slightly more. The monthly payment is slightly more than I was paying for a 1-bedroom apartment in Atlanta for a 3-bedroom house with, plus the amount of more money I got moving back up here. So like the economics worked, but to make that happen, when I moved back up here, I stayed at my parents' house for a little over a year just so that I didn't have a rent payment also, because that's still a lot on that, rent payment, this payment, that payment. It really takes a lot to get up there just to get even a simple down payment and closing costs and everything else in there.
Yeah.
So I got, because I think I ended up having to put down, I ended up, I think, taking $12,000 or so to closing, and that's not including inspection costs and whatever else. So, the other $1,000 or so there just to make that happen. But I did make that happen, and then so the costs are astronomical on it when you're looking at it, when you're trying to figure it out. But it is kind of the fault of the Fed, but also it's kind of the incentive. I think largely what we're looking at here is it's the issue of incentives, because the dollar is weakening, right? Prices go up prices go up because the value of the dollar goes down. There's other factors in it, but generally that's the trend, right? More dollars are chasing fewer goods. When you're talking about luxury, maybe luxuries, because there was another video I saw that was comparing the costs, how boomers will get on about the younger generation buying quote unquote luxuries instead of saving and doing this. And then, they ran the numbers.
The cost of luxuries today relative to the cost of luxuries when they were growing up,
right, has massively come down.
Life
and the cost of living has shot up all that way. So people go, well, fuck it, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go buy, and I'm going to do this. So, but when the money's losing value, you need something that's going to at least maintain value. And there's no reason that a house that is 20, 30, 40 years old should be going up massively in value, right? Like there's things that need to be done on it. There's updates on it. There's issues, things need fixed. Like it takes money, right? Like right now,
my heart rate's going up just with you talking about it, because I know what this house needs. Like,
Oh, I probably need to do windows and I need to do siding, and I have a friend who does garage doors who owns a garage door company.
Yeah, we have.
I don't have an automatic garage door, so I was just talking to him tonight about doing that, and of course he's cutting me a good deal. So
nice.
So, but you know that's going to cost me $1,500.
Garage door, siding. These are just the things that just like need doing, and tree trimming in the front because they're like half dead. I think lightning hit one of my silver maples in the front because it's like in bad shape. But
yeah,
and that's a lot of things that are just like, they're not fun. They're not like cool projects in the house or whatever. It's not like I got, oh my god, a new fridge, you know.
Well, at least like with me with a garage door, I'm like, yes, I don't have to get once I do this.
Because
right now I
don't the handle and lift.
I have the handle and I lift, so I'm parking the car in the garage because I'd rather do that, especially when it's cold and snowy and whatever.
Yeah.
And I have to go open the garage door and then pull the car out and then get out and close it. And there's been times I've forgotten to do that and driven to the store and come back and my door's open.
Oh shit.
So
I feel like though, wait a minute, this is not that much different where if you have a clicker in the car, I feel like you're gonna forget that with an automatic door too, man. Like,
Still do it. Yeah.
I mean, it's easier to click versus hop out and do it. But regard, I mean, I live in a decent neighborhood. It's not like anything happened there.
All right. Well, let's go to Zane for the last word on this, and then let's go into trivia.
Right. So obviously the Fed is to blame for a lot of this. I think it's important to point out that a lot of it in housing specifically is, again, from government regulations that are specifically on housing, you know, at all levels. So zoning that makes it impossible to actually build any new houses. You just talked for like literally 10 minutes about how you leave your garage door open sometimes. I can't believe we still have anybody watching this after that.
We can talk about manholes instead.
Oh my god! No.
Let's just go to trivia.
No, Zane, it's okay. What are you gonna say?
No. Let's move.
All right. That was very rude, Nick. How dare you?
I didn't make him stop. He could have kept talking.
I was gonna ask you guys too, like how much you thought the like hedge funds like BlackRock and things like that and Vanguard
no, we're on trivia right now.
We can come back to it
next time.
There we go.
I need another drink. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another week of Libations trivia. I know you've all been waiting for this moment. As usual, we have trivia in 3 rounds. Round 1 is 8 questions, 1 point each. Round 2 is 6 questions, 2 points each. And round 3 is 4 questions, 3 points each. Our panelists here will answer by writing their answer on a whiteboard and then showing it after 30 seconds. If you're in the audience, please write your answer in the comments, and if somebody gets it right, then the audience will get the point. I've heard that eventually we're going to have to stop being as generous to the audience with the points as we currently are, but I think for this week we're just running it back.
Cool. Are you gonna watch the audience?
Oh, that's right, we can look at the audience. I always forget we can see the audience comments here.
Oh.
Well, you can finish your thought while Alden's getting his stuff, Zane.
Oh, right.
We may have a chance of winning, or at least Nick. Probably not me. You guys are going to see how hilariously bad I can't spell. So, it's a new level of embarrassment for me because I'm already bad at this.
Anyways,
luckily, I don't take points off for spelling. But anyway, I was just talking about zoning and minimum lot sizes and all that. Yeah. Plus, starter homes now are a lot. Nobody wants to admit this, but starter homes now are a lot higher in quality than they were in 1950. So when people go around saying, "Oh, I can't believe that in 1950 somebody right out of high school could afford a house and now people can't do that," well, it's like what they were buying in 1950 is the equivalent of a modern day 1-car garage.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Boy Meets World?
Well, I know that it happened in 2000 and not 1950, but my point remains.
No, I wasn't being a smart aleck. I was just asking if you knew that show.
No.
I think Zane was born after it.
It happened
what
in
year
the
did it then?
90s, actually. So.
Yeah, and Zane was
What?
born Zane was born what, 2001, something like
I was
that.
born in 2000.
Nice.
So he's younger than that clip that you showed.
Year of the Dragon.
Yep.
I'm a dragon
All
too, for whatever that means.
All right. Anyway, for tonight's categories, we've got round 1, missing link. I'll explain how that works. Round 2, foreign sports, and round 3, political conventions.
I'm gonna do so bad on these. Foreign sports, political conventions, and unless missing link is about apish caveman behavior, then I might do okay. But
or Zelda.
It's not that.
Missing link.
All right.
That's funny.
So the way that this category works is that I have the name of 2 things. It could be people, it could just be expressions, it could be an object. But there'll be a blank in both of the names, and you will need to provide me with what is missing from both of those. Usually it's an entire word.
Mm-hmm.
There is a couple times where it's only part of a word, but
it's like that Wheel of Fortune. It's like, I don't know, they do that on Wheel of Fortune. I forget what they call it though. But
all right, anyway. Question 1. We've got I blank, the name of a 1958 essay, and the Apple blank, which is a device launched in 2015.
my marker's not working.
The blank is supposed to be the same thing?
Yeah.
And my marker sucks. Wait, I got this wrong.
All right. Is
Fascinating
everyone
listening.
ready?
I don't know.
Usually
I mean,
Jake fills the time by being really aggressive about how much time is left.
he does,
So-
active countdowns or whatever.
All right. Time
Although
is
I think
up.
he makes it up. He just goes, that seems like long enough. Anyway,
All right, Nick,
I put watch.
Alden.
Oh, it's one. We have one answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both requirements.
That's the entire point of this category.
Oh, well then.
That's why it's called link, because they're linked.
Oh, okay, I missed that. So
I even asked it in the middle of it. I'm like, so it's the same word in the blanks. And
I
he
missed
said
that.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Pass.
I didn't do well either. I don't have anything on my board because my marker messed up, and I'm gonna go get another one. But I put robot and iPhone, so I was completely missing the point too.
I totally missed it. Yeah.
Wow. This is truly a confederacy of dunces right now.
I'll be right back with it.
I got it. This was the practice round. I got it from here out, I think.
All right. The audience does get this, though, because it is pencil.
Oh, no. I almost said pencil, but it still would have been one of 2 answers.
I
though.
should have thought of that.
I have an Apple Pencil.
I was like, watch doesn't make sense, but I don't know. Like, there could be an essay called that, but yeah, iPencil makes sense and Apple Pencil. The watch came out around that time though, too. So
Did it? I don't know.
Question 2. We've got blank Steinbrenner, who is the owner of the New York Yankees, and we've got the blank 9000, which is a fictional computer.
Dead Space. We don't want that.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, where's the music? This is where
How
we're
about them
This is why we
Yankees?
have the
I hear
music.
the music. I'm just
Is that-
thinking of the Seinfeld episodes with Mr. Steinbrenner, but I can't. I'm like trying to think of his name, and I can't think of the first name.
Well, he
All
didn't
right.
specify which one.
Yes, I did, because it's the one that fits the link.
Well, yeah, okay, but also, they're yeah.
All right, I want to show
It's
my
All
answer.
right, Zach,
How?
Alden,
George, which is not going to
Nick.
I said how.
Dang it.
Yeah, so this is Hal.
Hal from
Hal Steinbrenner
2001.
is the son of George Steinbrenner. However, there is no fictional computer called the George 9000.
I know. I couldn't get George out of my head, so I just had to do that. But yeah,
2001: A
George
Space
9000.
Odyssey. So,
What's
Great
the George from Seinfeld? His fictional character name? It's like, I don't know.
Well, George is his fictional name.
Yeah, but he has an even more fictional name.
Fake
All right.
news name.
Question 3. We've got Blank Rim, the 2013 movie, and we've got South Blank, a 1949 musical.
I know this one.
You think you do?
No, that's
pretty.
You're just gonna write George again.
I know this one. George Rim.
The answer is
Got it.
Park.
All right,
That's
Nick,
a joke.
Park Rim.
Pacific.
Yeah.
Alden,
Same.
yeah, Zach, yeah, everyone gets this one. Question 4. This time I'm only looking for a single letter. So we've got the name of an opera from 1871, which is spelled A-I blank A. And we've also got H blank, which is the stock symbol of an Atlanta-based company.
Is this a well-known Atlanta-based company?
Maybe.
I'm not answering that.
But is that an H?
That
Yes.
is indeed an H. It better not be HH. Or you're
It'd be pretty funny
fired.
if it was.
So the answer is one letter,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Probably.
The answer is one letter. All right, time's up.
Yeah.
Nick. Y. All right,
Y.
Alden.
I did C.
C.
That's
Zach
a D.
says D, and the audience also says D. This is D. The opera is Aida, and the company is Home Depot.
Damn it! I'm so frustrated.
Damn it.
I should have. Yeah. I couldn't think of what Atlanta-based company.
I
had
just thought of Coke, and I was like, I don't know what their fucking stock symbol is, but I just.
You're a
went
full
D,
Yankee now, Nick.
but- You're a Yank.
All right, question
Don't
5.
matter
We've got the
about
Toyota Blank, which is a car produced since 1955, and Blank Royal, a Canadian whiskey.
It'll be an American whiskey soon enough
Why?
because Canada's becoming a state.
Okay.
We're gonna fix their. Yeah, we're gonna save them from their terrible ways, I guess. At least that's what Donald Trump says.
I think we can probably all go at this point.
All right, Zach,
Crown.
Alden.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Audience
Thought it
probably
might have
goes
been
Brown.
RAV4.
RAV4 whiskey. RAV4 Royal.
I
The
would
Hilux.
Yeah, instead of the
drink
Miller High Life, the Miller High Lux.
Hilux. His motor oil.
All right, question 6. We've got Seward's Blank, which is a nickname for the state of Alaska, and we've got Blank Pie, which is a term for no-bake pies, like lemon pie or key lime pie.
It'll be good to know since I plan on. Well, I have flights booked to Alaska for later this year. So
Nice.
Yeah. Never been. So it'll be something.
All right, Nick.
I put bargain.
Alden.
I didn't even put an answer, but I'll just say, I mean, curd? I don't fucking know.
Zach.
You put Coddleton. Spelled wrong.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's in the Dawapoo, so.
Okay, this is Icebox.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have got that. Did the audience get that one?
No, the audience did not get that one. All right, question 7. We've got 2 quotes here. The first one is by the mark blank, which is a riverboating expression. And we've got never the blank shall meet, which is a line from a Rudyard Kipling poem. Brian says that he has never heard the term icebox pie, even though he bakes pies. And the reason for that is that icebox pies refer to no-bake pies, so you wouldn't have heard about it by baking.
I'm a non-baker, and I've never heard of it. Yeah.
All right, Zach.
I'd like to see you cut a pie without a point on your knife.
Yeah. I put the F word.
Alden.
I just put 2.
Nick.
By the mark, Mark Twain.
Oh, nice.
Dang it.
That is where he got his name from. It's an expression. They would measure the depths of the river to make sure that it was at least 12 feet, which was deep enough for the boat. So,
did you know that, Nick?
Yeah, I knew that marking Twain was measuring depth of that, and I had to put Mark Twain as the joke, but that counts.
Wow, all right.
I did say Twain, but the mark was there
Definitely
because it
counts.
had to. I'm waiting for Zane's official ruling on it.
Yeah, that counts. All right, question 8. We've got a portion of a word here. So I'm looking for specifically part of a word that's 9 letters. But we've got the blank OCs, which is an ancient Roman poem by Ovid. And we've also got the Blankasis, which is a 1915 novella by Franz Kafka. I hear the squeaking. That's some excellent Foley work. Hannah is now in the audience, so you're definitely all gonna lose now.
Oh, I knew I was toast when I saw your fucking just list of things to look forward to here.
All right, Nick.
Pass.
Alden.
Roses are red.
Zach.
Yeah. Hypnosis. I don't know. I have no idea.
This is metamorphoses and the metamorphosis.
That was in my head, but
I thought it was a total of 9 letters, or I totally would have got it. Not, but
no.
Oh, you said 9 letters?
Yeah, I thought it was total, but
I didn't hear that.
I wouldn't have known anyway, so whatever.
Yeah,
I don't think I would have gotten there, but I would have liked to have heard that.
I'm not super familiar with Ovid or Kafka, so
This sounds like a bunch of excuse making and complaining. So
It
we're
is,
move
yeah.
on to the next round.
That's what it is.
Oh, great!
Man, I would've
Let's
got
talk
it wrong.
let's talk about sports no one watches.
Let's talk about fucking
All right,
cricket
so
again.
going in the round 2, we've got Alden with 2, Nick and Zach with 4, and the audience with 7.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sweet.
We're done.
Question 1. What team won the 2015-16 season of the Premier League? Before the season, some bookmakers were offering odds of 5,000 to 1 against them. These are among the longest odds ever to be paid out. It's too bad Jake isn't here because he would definitely
Jake would actually probably know that. I don't pay
make
attention
sure to
to
turn
football.
into the Wrexham Texan on the Peaceful Seed Network.
Fuck. What's that team's called?
So I'm guessing it's not Wrexham, which is what I have written down.
Wrexham doesn't even play in the Premier League.
Yeah, Wrexham's not in the Premier League.
All right, Zach.
Chelsea.
That is at least a team. Alden.
Ted Lasso.
Nick.
I kind of went on the same thing. I said Tottenham. Tottenham.
Also an actual team, but this is in fact Leicester City.
That's not even a real fucking place.
Never heard
Yeah,
of
they
it.
probably don't even have real knives there.
I mean, they don't have real football. They just have this play with balls with your feet game.
All right, question 2. The Bundesliga is the highest level of professional soccer in what country? All right, Nick.
Germany.
Austria.
This is Germany.
Darn it. I thought I was being clever.
Question 3. In a viral video from the 2023 World Championship final of what sport did a commentator repeatedly shout, "I can't speak! I can't speak!" after Michael Smith hit double 12 on his way to victory?
I don't know what any of this means.
All right. Zach.
Beach volleyball.
Alden.
Cricket.
Nick.
Cricket.
The audience was also unanimous in saying cricket, but this is in fact darts.
God damn it.
That's not a sport, god damn it. That's a game.
That's a pub game.
I
Right.
also just realized beach volleyball isn't foreign, but oh well.
Yeah, that's misleading.
Question 4. Sevens, league, and union are variations of what sport consisting of 7, 13, and 15 players per side, respectively? The morale is really high right now here, guys.
I don't watch a lot of American sports, so.
All right. Zach, what do you got for us?
LARPing.
Alden.
Call of Duty.
Nick.
Okay, I actually know that this is rugby.
Oh, really?
It is rugby.
I felt like I was gonna say that, but then it sounded like there was 3 teams. I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me.
Oh, this marker smells like fish. That's really gross, actually.
Nice. What kind?
Why is that? I don't know. This is like a erasable paint marker.
No, what
Question
kind of
5.
What kind of fish? Obviously a carp.
What 2
No.
sports comprise the biathlon?
You sure it's 2 sports?
Yes. That's why it's a buy.
Yes, thank you, Zane.
What about the transathlon?
I prefer the cisathlon myself.
That's because you're a bigot.
Yep. You got me. All right, Nick.
Cross country skiing and shooting.
Alden.
Oh, if that's it, I'll be mad. But I just put bike and sprint. Oh, I meant to write sprint. I wrote sport.
Zach.
That's ridiculous.
Running and cycling.
So the triathlon is swimming, running, and cycling, but the biathlon is skiing and shooting.
God damn it.
Interesting.
Is it shooting skeet or skiing and shooting?
You stop and you shoot
ski,
at
then
targets.
you shoot.
You've never watched this? Yeah.
You shoot skiers? That feels wrong.
Yeah. It's to like see if you're steady while your heart rate is high, basically.
You shoot from
And then for
skiing.
and then every target you miss on it, you have to do a penalty lap to knock your time down.
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you not watched this in the Winter Olympics?
What? No, I've not watched this. Or I would know this.
It's one of the
Never
few
watched
like
this.
it's one of the
I've
few
watched
events
it
worth
and I don't know
watching.
it.
Question 6. What sport are these people playing? It is partially named for the region in which it originated and features ball speeds up to 120 miles per hour. And apparently people die sometimes when they play this if the ball hits them in the head.
I know I got this one.
I think we're all done writing.
Are there 3
All right.
people playing? Or is that like one person watching? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's a spectator.
Zach.
sport.
I put squash
Alden.
after the squash region of France.
Projects Wall Ball.
Nick.
Got it.
ILI?
When you talked about the speed, I thought a highlight, but those are paddles, not what are those baskets called? But
This is Basque Pelada, but I am going to give Nick credit for Jai because
it's
it's a
high
variation
alive.
of that.
Oh my god!
Never heard of it. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I've never heard of Basque Pelada. That's some goofy.
I've never heard of
shit.
Jai.
I know the Basque region, but what the fuck is a pelada?
It
I think
refers to like the paddle that you use to hit the ball.
Hmm.
I
But
got
that's
credit
not-
for highlight.
That's not highlight though. Highlight, you don't play against a wall.
Yes, you do.
You do?
Yes,
Oh well. Then
but instead of a paddle, it's like some giant
it's a scoop
like,
thing. Like it's
fucking
this big
scoop
basket
thing that you.
like, yeah.
But I mean, it gets to those crazy speeds. So Zane said it counts. So
So does NASCAR.
I'm gonna lose anyway. doesn't
All
matter.
right. Going in the round 3, we've got Zach and Alden tied with 4, Nick with 12, and the audience with 15.
Nice.
Round
You're killing
3,
it.
political conventions.
Oh my god.
Question 1. In what city did the Federalist Party hold a convention to discuss grievances arising out of the War of 1812, leading to the downfall of the party? This city was home to an NHL team called the Whalers from 1979 to 1997. Everyone ready?
I guess.
Suppose.
Zach,
Ready to lose.
Baltimore.
Alden,
I'm gonna stick with the B theme and go a Boston.
Nick.
bring back the Hartford Whalers.
It is Hartford.
Nice. Also, where a good portion of Gilmore Girls takes place.
I was gonna
Never
say
watched this,
Cincinnati,
though.
but They don't have a lot of whales there.
That wasn't in existence in 1812.
Exactly. It was all
Question
a joke.
2. On December 20th, 1860, a convention in Charleston issued an ordinance announcing what action? Hannah called that a sports question in disguise, which I kind of dispute because I think some people could have gotten it just from the first sentence, but not many.
Not many. I would have had no clue if you didn't mention the Whalers.
I can't think of the fucking name of this thing I even want to say.
All right.
It's probably the wrong answer anyway.
Nick.
I'm saying secession with the
Alden.
exclamation points.
Curfew?
Zach.
No ice cream.
That's gotta be it.
This is the secession of South Carolina.
So
that would have been my birthday.
So Zach's right.
I was alive.
You're the dragon.
And
Nice.
also no ice cream. Question 3. This photograph depicts one of the many protests surrounding what convention? Year and political party both required. I brought this up last week where I said that a bunch of photographs from lefty protests from the 60s, they all have signs saying free speech, which is just a mind-blowing thing in today's context. And I wasn't even thinking of this particular photograph, but it's another one where if you look closely, they all have signs, huge signs saying free speech.
You know? And one mentioning God.
You'd
All
never
right,
find out
Zach.
of it.
But DNC, or Democrat, 68.
Alden.
Democratic, 63.
Nick.
You could have went with an even year, presidential year, Alden. I put Dems 72.
Oh.
All right. The audience says DNC 1960 and 1964. This is, in fact, the 1968.
Fuck.
I just know that because of the leftist chant, recreate 68. There was big riots there, and a lot of them want that to happen again.
I didn't even know about that, but yeah, I was in the right era. It was Vietnam era, so. Did we get
Question
half a
4.
point for saying Dems?
No.
Fuck.
Officially known under Democratic Party rules as party leaders and elected officials, what class of convention attendee was repeatedly criticized during Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign?
A class of convention attendee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the Brahmin.
I don't even know. I don't even understand this. I'm too drunk
All
for
right.
this trivia.
Zach.
Super delegates.
Oh, okay.
Alden.
I didn't say shit.
Nick.
Super delegates.
These are indeed the super delegates. So at the end of trivia, we've got Alden with 4, Zach with 10, Nick with 21, and the audience wins again with 24.
I was close,
Nice.
though.
Here goes. Where is it at? All right.
That image is terrifying.
Yeah, we got to do something about the audience. All of them against any one of us individually just isn't going to work forever.
I mean, I stood no
Especially
chance.
because I'm not playing.
Yeah. Ooh,
Or that you're
we
right.
should just have Zane play one time and see if he can beat the audience.
Let's see
I
if
mean-
Zane knows the answers to his own questions.
I mean, we have probably
does.
enough now that we could handicap the audience.
You mean like
make it more
shoot
fair.
him in the kneecaps?
That's one option, but the other option is just like determining what their average score is and kind of self-correcting it down to our average.
Rig it against them.
That makes more sense, yeah.
No, it just means they have to outperform their average in order to win.
Was Boromir the bad guy? What is this about?
Let's get into it. Oops, super delegate still. No, here we go. Oh, we need sound. I got to restart. Here goes. Was Boromir the bad
As a kid,
guy?
I always felt like Boromir was the bad guy, but once you start to understand the geography of Middle-earth, you realize that even though Aragorn is the hero that Middle-earth got, Boromir is the hero that Middle-earth deserved. Look at this. We've got the Misty Mountains right here. Rivendell is sitting right there, and most of the members of the Fellowship are traveling not that far to get there. We've got the 4 hobbits that kind of grew up and spent their lives in the Shire. These right here are the Blue Mountains, and that's where Gimli is traveling from. Legolas comes from the other side of the Misty Mountains in the woods of Mirkwood. That's the journey that he makes to get to Rivendell. But the one that travels the farthest is actually Boromir. He's coming all the way from Osgiliath. Now, right around the time that Gandalf is stuck at the Tower of Orthanc after being betrayed by Saruman, that's when Boromir and Faramir have taken back Osgiliath from Mordor's forces. So think about this. Like, Boromir has seen action. He's watched men die. He understands exactly what is brewing here in Mordor, and they're the only, like, sort of bastion of defense that's keeping Mordor at bay from taking over all of the free peoples of Middle-earth. So when Boromir shows up, he's the only one that actually gets it besides maybe Gandalf and Aragorn. But Aragorn has spent most of his time, most of his life wandering the wilds in the north. He has fought a few wars down here in Rohan, but nothing recent. And Gandalf, we know that he spends a lot of time in the Shire because he's developed a love for the Halfling's Leaf, as Saruman gives him a lot of crap for.
Someone get
There's
this
only
guy a
one
podcast
person who's
about
taking the whole thing
manholes.
seriously
Jeez.
because he's actually seen what is developing in the east, and it's Boromir. He's just taken back Osgiliath. Minas Tirith will be the next to fall if the orcs take this back. And so he's traveled all of this way because he has no choice. Like, he's the only one who actually firsthand knows what the stakes are. And that's also why he doesn't respect Aragorn, because in his mind, Aragorn should have been fighting this fight also. But he spent all of his time just kind of like hanging out with the elves. So, like, of course you wouldn't respect that person. And of course you would feel like you need to bring the ring to Gondor so that you can win this war that there seems to be like no end to. So yeah, as soon as you look at the geography and realize that Boromir and Gondor's forces are single-handedly holding Mordor at bay right here, you view him completely differently.
No.
Why did Jake subject us to that? All I
Yeah,
could
that
see
was-
is that whole time was, wow, this guy's even more of a huge nerd than me.
I feel like this was Zach's call from the Middle Earth Caucus.
By the blood of our people are your lands kept safe. Like,
Well, it's very clear that one does not simply walk into Mordor. So,
do you know that for that scene, he was
Go ahead.
given the lines that morning, and so he didn't memorize the lines yet, and that's why he's doing this and like looking down because the lines are in his lap. Anyway,
Nice.
movie trivia.
Anyway, I never really thought of him much as like a bad guy, but just like a flawed human. And that was kind of showing the difference between like a man who carried the ring versus a hobbit, or I don't know. But that's interesting to see. Like, he's experienced the onslaught of Mordor, and he's like the first responder. So I guess he had a different perspective than everybody else.
And he's affected by the ring in his own way.
Yeah.
And tries to kind of take it and regrets it or whatever. And the interesting thing is that Sam is alongside Frodo for the entire time and is really never affected by it. And in the book, it goes into more that the ring tries to show visions to Sam of like what he could have if he took the ring, and like his like love for gardening. The ring tries to take it and like expand it into like this whole thing where it's like, you could have gardens that sweep the lands for forever. And he's like, that's a lot of work. I just want my little garden, and it just like doesn't work. for Sam. Like it's just
like
it
there's
doesn't
nothing
get-
you
it
can
doesn't
give him that he
understand
doesn't
him.
already have.
Yeah, exactly. He's a simple man of simple needs, and like it just does not work or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, just by contrast or whatever, I think Boromir's not really the enemy or whatever. He's just succumbing to the influence here or whatever, and it's just like you said, a flawed human. But that was a long-winded video for
it was very
a
long.
lot of nothing. Like I'm sorry, and I love the Lord of the Rings a lot, but
me too. I like the question that if Sam. Well, I think this is what started your whole Sam video, like you had sent us. It's like if Sam could carry Frodo, who was carrying the ring, couldn't they just put the ring on a rat
in his pocket
and then carry the very
whole
angry
question.
rat through Middle Earth? But it's like
a really fucked up rat, like a methed out rat. Yeah.
Yeah, but technically no, because the ring would still try to influence the
influences
people
the
around
people
it.
around, yeah.
It just happened to not be able to touch Sam at all.
It's just Sam. Like that's the whole thing. Is like, Sam's the one that's just like not even like too pure, just like too simple. I don't know. Just doesn't work on him.
All right. Any thoughts on that, Zane or Nick, or just annoyed how long?
Yeah.
I got nothing else to add to this.
It was a great model. He built a great model of Middle Earth. But
yeah, that was that's dedication to put together something like that.
Yeah.
Giant nerd. But
yeah, for sure.
Yes. Our people.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the next segment here is just called the cleanup crew. So I imagine that's probably whining philosophical. So you guys got anything else to whine about for a few minutes before we wrap up?
A good bit of whining today, I think already. So.
Yeah.
I thought this section was just cleaning up after ourselves after we got super drunk.
Could be.
Yeah,
we have a lot to clean up.
Drunk, yeah.
I'm trying to think, what do I have to complain about?
What is funny?
I'm doing pretty good right now.
Next one.
What?
I guess that's just the funnies.
Yeah, that's the funniest.
Yeah.
Funny boned? Okay. Oh, funny bone.
Wow.
I'm trying to make sense.
I really would have expected you to get that one. I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
One thing
you didn't think of it, Alden.
I got one thing to bitch about, and I submitted this for Drunkard of the Week, but apparently Patrick Bet David is now shilling XRP.
Ooh.
Like he cut a whole commercial, and I have it, and I put it in the Discord. There was a whole commercial of him like, well, if Swift goes, if 50% of Swift payments go onto this, it would be worth this. So you should buy Ripple now. And it's very, very depressing to see someone who's generally been, I don't follow him closely, but to then get taken, especially when he's apparently had Sailor on. So you've talked to Michael Saylor, and then you turn around and you're gonna take, Ripple's money because Ripple is on an all-out assault to try to get people to buy into their shit coin.
Yeah, it's always frustrating, these, big names, and especially like Rogan sometimes, where it's like he'll be on your side and agree with you until he talks to one more person, and then he seems to agree with them, and then he talks to somebody else and he agrees with them.
Joe Rogan, one of his biggest skills is essentially being able to agree with everybody that he talks to without ever technically contradicting himself.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, maybe because he doesn't ever agree to like on a solution, but agrees on problems, or he agrees.
Still like the guy.
Along with the conversation. He's just a podcast host kind of thing. He's just like entertaining who's there, and moves with them long enough. But
yeah, so he's not. Yeah, but then Patrick Bet David just straight up actually shilling XRP is disappointing to say the least.
Yeah.
And a little pathetic.
All right. Well, before we go on to the funny, we only have one. So any plugs, last words, anything anyone wants to get out there?
How do we only have one funny?
I don't think Jake supplied us with any, so I found one.
Well,
okay. I was going to say, I sent in a bunch this week, but...
Well, you can blame me partially.
No, I blame you.
Go ahead.
It's more fun
blame
to blame
me.
Jake.
I'm working.
It's in my DNA to blame Jake. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a campaign for Pittsburgh mayor that we're kicking off. We're running Ben Heckman for that, so I've been working on getting that kind of set up, and we picked up petitions, get some paperwork filed, and we're gonna see what happens because with whatever happens, the Democrats gonna win because it's Pittsburgh. So we're gonna have some fun with it and see what happens.
You should offer to buy some new fridges for people. I hear that really works.
Yeah. Or toasters.
If I could
toasters, hey, why not?
Oh, air fryers are big right now.
Yeah, because it's colder in Pittsburgh, so maybe go with like hot appliances. Like maybe that'll have more appeal there. Like know your audience.
Yeah, I mean, I would do if I had the money for it, right? I mean, we barely have enough to fund a campaign.
You don't have $2 billion just laying around to buy.
I'm gonna have to go start an NGO to get $2 billion.
Yeah, get on
Since
it.
apparently Congress is still just pushing through continuing resolutions that allow this bullshit to be funded. So.
All right. Well, I'll plug Banish Big Brother. Go to banishbigbrother.com. Check out the podcast there. Put your email in. Get on our list. Stay plugged in with that. Anything from you, Zane?
No.
Anything from you, Alden?
I mean, I don't think so.
All right. Well, let's check out this funny, and then we will be done. So, sound on this time.
Good evening. I'm here in my secret getaway hideout, just enjoying the outdoors. Turns out that things are not as good in the forest as we believe they were. I spoke to an owl just today. He has many concerns. Turns out that just the other day, his humble tree home was raided by squirrels. They stole everything. When he went to the bears to see if they could make an arrest, they simply snarled and went back to sleep. Crime is surging in the forest. Acorns are being extorted. Mooses are humping deer against their will. Wolves are trafficking foxes. Ooh. When I had a conversation with a mole just last night, he denied any claim that he had anything to do with the trafficking in hopes that the foxes return home safely. If it was up to me, my furry friends would take back their woodland home. What's the matter? Did the squirrels steal the nuts between your legs as well?
This is a pretty good impression, actually.
That's good. That's
he didn't have the
to
voice
comedy.
Yeah, he didn't have the voice necessarily down. There were points he kind of did, but he had the cadence of Tucker.
Good. Yeah, maybe it's okay, the combination of the two, but I thought the overall impression was pretty good. But...
All right.
And the one funny, I guess so.
There we go. All right. Well, I guess that's it for us this time. I'm trying to remember how to end the show. I think I just hit end stream in a second. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening.
You gotta play the outro song.
Oh, I think when I hit end stream, it'll just do that. So let's hope for the best.
Hope for the best always.
Let's see what happens. If not, you don't get your Liberty Libation song.
Liberty Libation.
Anyway, Jake will be back next week, hopefully, because this was probably a train wreck with me at the helm. But here goes. Let's see if we get an
Trains don't have helms. Ships have helms. It was more of a shipwreck of an episode.
Mute him.
Boom. See you guys.